students who will be placed before school reopens. A major endeavor, and it's been very controversial. A couple of days ago, the Independence Square in Accra was filled with so many people who said they didn't get the right placement, or they couldn't just understand what was going on. Things have calmed down a bit, and so we've brought in the Minister for Education to help us walk through what's really going on with the educational sector and where he sees the process, and whether he can assure us that by the time all schools reopen fully, everybody will be placed, everybody will be schooling, everybody will be happy. He's the MP for Menchia South. He's in the person of Matthew Opoku Prempeh, Minister for Education. Welcome to the show. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
By the grace of God.
It must be a difficult and busy time, because September is when everybody else goes to school, so education becomes the number one issue for you.
As expected.
Yes. How has it been? You've been running this ministry for 2.5 years.
It's challenging. You have to work at it.
How are you finding it? Are you enjoying it?
It keeps me excited every day.
I see. So, maybe let me give you a quick intro to give me an overview of where we are in terms of the secondary school placement. I think that's what everybody wants to hear about. Based on the reports you have, based on the briefings you've received, where are we? How many people have been placed? What is left to be done? Just give me your general thoughts on how you assess the situation first.
Thank you, Bernard. At the start of the school season, after the release of the results by WAEC, we realized that there were 721 schools available for choices. Mm-hmm. The total vacancies, as declared by the heads of the various schools, was 520,298. Mm-hmm. The number of students WAEC had given us with complete results, because initially they withheld some results. Mm-hmm. The number of students WAEC had given us was 512,083. When we looked at the results, some students had English 9 or Maths 9, which we don't place such students. There were 38,355. So the total qualified out of the 512 and 83 to be placed was 473,728. 473,728. Bernard, of that 473,728, as of midnight Sunday, 8 September, the computer systems had automatically placed 74% of that number, that's 351,022. This has never happened since we started school placement in 2005. In fact, Bernard, before 2017, at no age level, at no year, had there been over 310,000 students for total placement. It's never been. So, as at midnight Sunday, we had 74% of the students placed, which is remarkable. If you recall, 2016, placements were happening in December. We had 3 rounds of placements, and kids really went to school. School started in December, and that had been what had been going on for years before we came. Before we came to office in 2016 and in 2017, there was nothing like self-placement. There was absolutely nothing like self-placement. Uh-huh. So to make the system fairer, in 2018 we came up with a system of self-placement, where when the kid didn't get any of his choices, the computer opens up schools that are available depending upon the kid's grades, for the kid to choose the program, to choose the residency, and to choose the school. Uh-huh. There were 122,706 places for such placement, which was about a quarter of the people. Previously, this quarter, either they would put, after the first cohort has gone to school, they will put them through again for placement depending on availability. Pull out, some will get, some will still not get, and pull it out even further. And we have to put on record that at no time T, even including what we have done this year, would every kid get a school. Bernard, in Ghana here, we exercise choice for secondary school. And if you interview people, what everybody wants to do is to go to a boarding school. So, if you have a lot of day schools around, people will not necessarily go into the day school unless that day school is in the middle of the city. And to show you that, the tally shows that some schools in the inner cities have had record engagements, not because they are category A schools, but just because of accessibility. Our number one school in Ghana is a school in Kumasi that is not a category A school, called Kumasi Secondary Technical. Kumasi Secondary Technical had total choices. The number of people who chose to go to that school was 37,457. This is the middle of the town. It's in a very highly accessible area. Asantuma Senior High School, also in the middle of town near Swami Runabout, had 18,000 people, 987. And they had places for only 1,200. Kumasi Secondary Technical had only places for 1,200. Anglican Secondary School, that is also in the middle of Kumasi. CAS. Now it became Super CAS. Had choice numbers of 29,441.
But this would include those who chose it for both first and second.
Yes.
And possibly even third.
But the total vacancies available were 1,326. Achimota, our beloved Achimota, had 18,778 people. They have vacancies for 1,190. Wesley Girls and Holy Child had choices over 4,500 each. Wesley Girls have 4,990. Holy Child have 4,536. But both Wesley Girls had vacancies for 510. Holy Child for 476. So because of choice that has existed in our system since independence, the number of schools the kids want to go to are far fewer than the number of schools available. Because the first statement I made was that the schools had declared vacancies of 520,000 and we had only 473,000 students qualified. So ideally, everybody should be able to walk into a school. But all the schools are not equal.
And all the schools are not located within the proximity
of a kid's
and
going.
Also the demand for boarding and day is not equiproportional to the schools available. So even though the schools may be there,
people don't want to go. Last year, we put 8 new E-blocks onto the school choice list. No student, Bernard, no student chose any of them.
Because they don't know what it is. But let me take you back a bit. I remember the week before this one, there was a story on Citi Newsroom that quoted you saying that 75% of students were placed in the first round of postings. For the first time, placement results are out. As you are saying, we don't hear the usual noise that characterizes it. This is a tremendous improvement. We still want to get better. Nearly 75% of students got placed in the first round, and 25% are doing self-placement. This was September 11.
Yes.
Then, by September 17, 18, a lot of trouble came. Question, did you talk too soon? Were you complacent? Or did you assume that once you've placed a person on the computer, your work is done? Because subsequent to this news, we saw what happened.
No, Bernard, you're not complicit. We know the challenges. Because after the computer had placed the 75%, the 351,022 students, those students had been given any of their choice schools. And you know that students chose 5 schools. 3 in ranking order for the students, 1 as a day school that if you don't get your 3, you would go, and 1 as a technical school that you may want to go. So that makes a 5. So there were incidents where somebody wanted to go to Wesley Girls, got grade 8, couldn't get in, and got a day school, which was also a category A school in Achimota. And the person was chasing us, that she wants the daughter to go to Wesley Girls. Meanwhile, there was nobody who had been placed in Wesley Girls that her daughter had a better raw score than. So we know that after the automatic placement, some majority of people who get their second, third, or fourth choices want to change. When you look at the collated sheets from the Independent Square, nearly 90% of those who thronged to Independent Square had places, but they wanted to change. And we can never satisfy that, because when you look at the number of people who want to go to Achimota, if even half qualified to go to Achimota, we can't even put all of them.
But do you ascertain the reason why they want to change? Whether it's just because I don't like the school, or it's for a practical reason that I was placed in a day school in Wale Wale and I live in Medina?
That is the first one. The 5 choices that the student made during the junior high school BEC exams, that student, with the support of the parent and the teachers, chose that school. Bernard, you might be schooling in Accra, and you might have your uncle living in Wale Wale. So if I say choose a day school, you might decide that you are going to live with your uncle. Likewise, somebody living in Nampanduri might have an auntie living and working in Accra. So when you ask that person to choose a day school that he can attend, he or she may feel that I can go and live with my auntie in Accra and attend Accra Girls as a day school. So the choice is not made by the computer. You have given the computer a set of 5, and you have got grade 1's 8, and you wanted to go to Wesley Girls, and you couldn't be placed in Wesley Girls, and you have chose Achimota, which is another category A school, as a day school because you live in Achimota. The computer places you in Achimota, and Bernard, you say now you don't want to go to Achimota as day, you want to go to Achimota as a boarding school, which was the second group of people who thronged to the Independent Square. The third group of people who thronged to the Independent Square was people like who chose a program, like say general arts, and then all of a sudden they don't want to do general arts again, want to do business. Those choices are not made when the computer or self-placements come. Those choices are done, Bernard, long before the results come out when you are writing your BEC. So parents must necessarily get involved.
But about these 3 things you said are all legitimate and genuine with the process of school placement, because even before computerized school placement came, you choose pre-sec, you wanted to do science, they give you general art. You go and ask, can they give you science? They say no. Your second choice can give you science, you go. So you've designed a process to computerize school placement. You have 500,000 people. You definitely should expect this, all the 3 things you've described, they are a necessary part of the process.
That's why I'm saying, Bernard, if you heard me carefully, if you listen to me carefully, I said we realize that. But since computerized school placement came in 2005, that is how it has been. Your choices that you made on the paper is what the computer is placing you on. So if you didn't choose well, the computer cannot place you well. Because you see, the incident that you just narrated, you don't choose on the school place, on the during WAEC time. You don't choose that I want to go and do, my first choice is pre-sec, general science. My second choice is EBRI, general arts. You have chosen your program on the WAEC.
So your system restricts you to the preferred subject.
The preferred subject you have chosen. You said you are going to do science. And that is what you told WAEC when you were filling the form.
But then that means the design is even flawed, because you can change, you can decide that if I don't get science at pre-sec, I prefer arts at pre-sec than science at Laboni.
But that question is not being made at that time.
That means the design is flawed.
It's not about
it's a design.
No, it's not about design. The WAEC, when you were filling the WAEC forms, you chose the course that you are going to do.
Because the options you give me limited me to just my first.
It is not I gave you the option.
The
it
form.
is not the. It's the WAEC form that we have.
That's my point. But it was done by somebody.
It is not faultless. Even when we did O level and A level, that was how it was. It has always been when you went to do O level, and you did arts, and you went to O level and did arts. Avle, on what mechanism can you say I'm going to pre-sec form to do science?
Well, my point. What the point I'm making is that you can.
You get my point.
But you can say I agree. But you can say your first choice school is Presec. What are your 3 top courses? Science, arts, business. My second choice is Laboni. What are your 3 top courses? Do you know my point?
You never do that.
No, I'm saying you can design a system to cater for different possibilities depending on how far you want to go and depending on how much space you have.
Bernard, theories are very simple. Theories are very simple. This system we are talking about, has it ever been implemented in any choice situation?
I'm saying that in the human interactions we used to have before the computerized system came, if you go to the headmaster of the school and say your son chose science, and they say we can't give him place in science, the next thing is not he goes to second choice for science. The headmaster could say, well, there's a place in general arts. Do jog accounts, maths. I'm coming. Now, a computerized system is trying to mimic. It can never be perfect. But my point to you is that some of these flaws and problems we are seeing should have been expected, and we should have made provision to cater for feedback for all the people who will be disgruntled because based on the numbers you're giving me, they were never going to get their first choice anyway.
Bernard, you are still not living in the reality.
No, I'm saying we've already moved away from
the theory you are espousing is not the reason that we are discussing. Systems have been operating. Even those that say that in 2005 it was perfect. The 2005 system, the child still chose the subject he wants to go and do. I don't know how on earth somebody who is reading visual arts can all of a sudden hop to science. Or how somebody who is doing business, because even when you are doing JSS, go and look at the subjects. Somebody is doing basketry. Somebody is doing textile baking. He wants to go and do visual science. How is the person going to do general science? The person who chose general science and chose subjects in those areas, how is the person going to do economics? Because the person didn't even choose economics. Even the exams that he wrote, he didn't do any economics. How is somebody who didn't do computing all of a sudden wants to come and say that, oh, I didn't get my first choice school in Presec. I'm getting my second choice school in Agri Memorial. So I'm going to do computing there. When your results, you didn't do computing.
Okay, fine. So
Bernard, you get my point.
You don't agree with me, no problem. But my next question to you,
I don't agree with you. It is not Matthew Opoku Prempeh choosing.
You are saying it's not possible for the various levels of choices I am proposing to be addressed by a system. I'm asking this because we said that we have a new software which is supposed to be an improvement of the old.
Who said that?
He did. Your deputy DG for GES, who I interviewed on TV on Monday, said that they had put in place a new software which was an improvement, and he said that the algorithm made this much better than the previous one.
Yes.
Now we judge the quality of the system based on the result it produces.
We judge the quality of the system based upon the less human interference with the system. I just told you in 2016 we had to reprogram 3 times. Google and check when the last cohort of students went to school. 10 years before 2017, it never happened that first year students went to school the same year as continuing students. It never happened. Now, from 2017, students are going to school the same time as continuing students. It's an improvement. We have never had such record numbers. We have got a placement system that has given us a 75% placement without any human interference, based upon the choices the student has made. It's an improvement.
Did we prepare the people's minds for the consequence of this thing you've said? Because you don't want human interference because that's what we want to prevent. It removes the corruption. The citizens want to talk to somebody, and they also didn't understand the consequence of the way the system works. So therefore, you have a problem at the Independence Square. Would you say that, well, based on the fact that our objective was to reduce human interference and place the highest number of students, we've succeeded, when you have a whole disgruntled group of people at the Independence Square saying that they are, essentially, they have no clue how to get the schools they want. You can't call something successful without that human side.
I also want you to live in reality.
But the reality is the Independence Square.
You want me to address the Independence Square? Let's stop everything and let's go to Independence
Square. By its part.
What happened between Monday and Tuesday, Bernard? I'm asking you. All of a sudden on Monday, there were 5,000 people in Independence Square, falling, was stampeding, all with brown envelopes, shouting. And look at the TV trail of the clips. Some, when you even ask them what school they chose, they don't know. Some, when you ask them the results, they cannot even give you. Bernard, what happened on Monday was not ordinary people looking for place. We have more than enough evidence that they were passed to the place, that they were informed, they were excited, they were motivated to do what they happened. But now look at two things. When it walks like a duck and it talks like a duck, it is a duck.
So what's the evidence?
I'm coming. These people miraculously vanished on Tuesday. Not because CSSPS had become miraculous and sorted out everybody's problem on Monday. In fact, on Monday they had to shut down because of the routing and the stampede. These crowds vanished on
How
Tuesday.
many did they register on Monday?
Compared
to the number
less than
that came?
200.
Less than 200 people.
Yes.
And then Tuesday, could it not be that the people just gave up because they were not being attended to?
Bernard,
Because our reporter said when they got there,
I'll be most
our reporter
surprised.
said when they got there, they announced that they are closed. So a lot of people dispersed.
Bernard, even as we speak, Independence Square is opened. It was the stampede that led to an early closure. As we speak. And Bernard, it is not only Independence Square that was open for resolution. Every regional capital had a resolution center. Interestingly, we didn't hear stampede. We haven't heard any bad news in the 50 other regional centers.
But Napo, if 120,000 students did self-placement, and this is the first time we've done self-placement.
It's not the first time. I never said that. We did self-placement last year.
Is it not reasonable to expect that those who did self-placement, and again, for example, some had gone to certain schools like Kwabuchu and they were told that they were not ready to receive them. Is it not reasonable to expect a large number of because the self-placement is 120,000. So is that population not enough to merit the kinds of numbers we saw there without any other Independence Square?
That's what I'm coming. When you look at self-placement, what is self-placement? You didn't get any of your choice schools. Mm-hmm. The computer directs you to schools that are available with vacancies. Mm-hmm. You chose one of the residency. That's the first option that comes. Mm-hmm. It tells you, with your grade that you got, these are the schools that are available. Right? Because the self-placing, the vacancies varies from category B, category C schools. Right? So if you got, say, between 8 or you didn't get your place between 9 and 15, the schools that are available to you to choose select from are better schools in our categorization than if you got 25 to 30. So we open that space and that you choose the residents. When you choose the residents, your next one is choose a program. When you choose a program, then it says confirm your school. Mm-hmm. Then when you confirm, that is the only time you can print a placement form out. Mm-hmm. What happened on Monday, early hours of Tuesday, when we had the breach, was that around 8:30 in the morning, some heads of category A schools started calling that, look, people are placing themselves there over and above the limits that we gave you. Yasantua called. All of a sudden, 97 people who didn't get Yasantua first were able to self-place. Prempeh College called, 47. So the category A headmaster started getting worried. So we looked at the system and we realized that this shouldn't have been possible. Because by the time we finished the auto placement, those schools didn't have vacancies.
So they shouldn't have been possible for someone to place themselves. Is that when you realized that the system had been compromised?
Yes, that's when we realized the system had been compromised. So we looked at the thing and we brought it down in the evening of the Tuesday. Then we checked the number of people who have done self-placement in that. The number of people who have done self-placement in that time were over 22,000. 22,000. The Director General of Ghana Education Service then came out with a press release that we have brought the self-placement module out. It's not available for anybody. When we brought it back up, he indicated that, one, we have annulled all those who self-placed into those schools. That should not have been available because they had breached the school ceilings and things like that. And that everybody should go back and self-place. So it had not given advantage to anybody. Everybody who had self-placed had been annulled because they had put themselves in category A schools that should not have been available. Bernard, look at the two forms and you understand. Do you have copies here? Those who placed themselves early, no, I want to print out all this. Those who placed themselves earlier, you would realize, Bernard, that on the sheet, there's no self-placement written on the sheet. That is the first one. Second, those schools were all double-track schools. But you didn't see, or you couldn't read, whether the child had been placed in gold track or green track. Those who went earlier. Thirdly, you couldn't even read the date the child was supposed to report at school.
So that's what confirmed to you that there was a problem with this thing?
Because the normal self-placement model sheet and the automatic placement, boldly printed on it, will tell you automatic placement or self-placement. If you did
how did they manage to break into the system? And is that not again a flaw of your new software? Because the system is so good, how does somebody break into it?
It's easy. We are all in this world. When National Security Agency in America system was hacked by a 9-year-old boy from Red Star Belgrade. There is no system that is perfect.
That's why we should. Why we should wait before we start celebrating.
We have not celebrated. When you make a statement, it's not celebration.
You said for the first time,
and still,
this is what you said. For the first time, placement results are out, and we don't hear the usual noise that is characterized with it. You said this on September 11. By Monday, there was noise.
September 11 is what? What day?
Wednesday. And by Monday, the next, there was noise, and there was also
after 11 is not Monday.
That's my point. The point I'm making is that maybe you celebrated too early.
No. As we speak, people are attempting to hack the system. Last year, ask the Minister for Communication. We slept at NITA because there were 3 hacks. Last year, people broke into the system.
And what did you put in place to prevent this?
We put in place the whole national cyber security experts to help us. There were 3 breaks.
Let me ask you a few questions around this area. And I know on this hacking, because there's a lot of allegations that some of the people who were supposed to help run the system had been removed.
Bernard.
Let me just read it and you respond briefly. I just have a statement. Ghana National Education Campaign Coalition, signed by Kofi Asare. Second paragraph, just listen to the question. He says, the transfer of some key staff at the Secretariat of the Computerized Schools Selection System and Placement in 2017 was not in the best interest of the education development. These staff had acquired invaluable competence from the many years of work they could have been maintained. Then number 2, dissolving.
Let me answer it.
The two are together. The two are together. The two are together.
So I'll let you repeat it one by one.
2 things, the same thing. The first one says you transferred key staff at the Secretariat of CSSPS, and he says number 2, you dissolve the technical working committee comprising key stakeholders such as teachers, head teachers, and parents, which had oversight of the CSSPS Secretariat and exposed the Secretariat to undue political influence. What's your response?
Bernard, the truth of the matter is that this is not even a legitimate concern. Do you know why? Since 2005, CSSPS has never been operated by working group or staff in CSSPS. Under President Kufuor, it has been outsourced to a private group. Under President Mills, it was been outsourced to a private group. When I came into office, and for 2 years I worked with a private group, there is nobody in CSPS Secretariat who has anything to do in implementation with the computer school placement system. See, when people just hear something said on air and they repeat it under the guise of Ghana National Education Coalition, I get worried.
They are a legitimate group, so they are not the guys.
Wait, I'm telling you that they have had no meeting for Kofi Asare to put this out.
What about the technical committee?
I'm coming. Who oversees this CSSPS? Is it the Ghana Education Service? The technical group he's talking about, don't they report to Ghana Education Service?
But are they working?
They are working.
He says they've been dissolved.
Let him mention the name. You see, in Dr. Somwa, who started a group with under President Kufuor in 2010, was kicked out by NDC. The system that government had developed, they set it aside. They brought in another group called Time Consult. We worked with Time Consult for 2 years. We didn't kick them out. Contract has expired. We did a tender process. Dr. Somwa's group applied. Time Consult applied. A better group got it. You said what? The fact that you are driving a Toyota, and you have been driving a Toyota well, and you have money, and you've gone to buy a Mercedes-Benz 2 days before your marriage, your Mercedes-Benz crashes. Does it mean that you have bought a bad car?
Fair response. What about the claim that the new software was tested for only 3 months?
Where is their understanding? Where is their... It is not true. It is not true. You see,
when was the software procured and when was it deployed?
All the people that came through the tender, what did they bring?
Well, we were not there, so we
Yes,
can't tell.
but if they didn't have a software that they were going to demonstrate, how could they have won the tender?
No, he's saying that it wasn't tested.
What does it mean by tested?
You can simulate it. So, for example, we have agreed to use this software, and 3 months to school reopening, we can say let's attempt for people from different locations to put their school and do placement, and let's put pressure on the system to see if it will work.
A shred of evidence that it was not done?
Well, you can publish how
and I'm saying
tested
that
it.
I say that it was done.
There was a testing.
Yes.
And what did the test results say?
Bernard, the way you are asking the question.
No, because
I'm saying that Dr. Kofi Ansari.
I'm just.
No,
I'm using his press statement to ask you this.
I'll say that Ghana National Education Coalition has never met for him to issue this press statement. He has his own problem with Ghana National Education Coalition.
Okay.
And I can say that
so
there are others.
So let's take Kofi Ansari out.
And Kofi
Ansari,
a
legitimate question.
His question is if you want answers.
Yes, please.
If you want answers, we can all giggle. We can all do it. I'm saying that the system was tested.
Mm-hmm.
The system that I've showed you, the results that has come out, has shown that the system was better than last year. The system that we operated last year, we did 3 hacks. We were down over 3 times. We spent 3 nights in NITA with all the national cybersecurity experts, including even national security. This case, when we noticed the hack and we pulled it down, within 24 hours, we have been up again. And even though as we speak, we can demonstrate, people are trying, hiding their ISP addresses, trying to get into the system. It's a better system. It's
All right, let's move on. We are talking to Matthew Opoku Prempeh, Minister for Education, responding to questions about the school placement.
We haven't finished school placement. You made us jump. From the.
No, you explained.
You made us jump from the independence.
Yes, I'll come back to that. You explained that there was a what do you call
it?
A breach, and you were showing me the document to show that the people who breached it had a different system. So it's very clear that's what they've printed. But I wanted to ask a question. School placement is not only a technological issue, but it's also a human issue. Your technology may be kosher. What human interface did you put in place to cater for the first 3 categories of things you explained at the beginning of the interview? Because you know that those things will emerge. So technology may be great. What call center system, what feedback system did you put in place for people to prevent this type of whatever we saw on Monday and Tuesday?
I said all the regional capitals had resolution centers manned by human beings trained and ready to help. 16 regional centers. They all had human beings ready. That's why I could say, how come it had never happened in all the other 15 regional centers? Because the people there have been trained to receive your complaint and pass it on to the placement center for resolution. Bernard, we also know that even when people have been placed in certain schools, they might not go. We have a number of people who might go to private institutions. We have a number of people who might travel outside. We have a number of people who might not go to school. So throughout the system, there are places that you can adjust, that you have to adjust it manually. But that is why you have to go to the placement resolution center, submit your form, your placement form, talk about your problem, leave a telephone number. We also have a call center that is responding to all the nation's calls. That starts 6 a.m. and closes at 8 p.m. So we knew every year since school placement started, whether manual time or computer time, every year, every single year, there are problems with schools and their placement, which is a human thing. Because somebody who wants to go to Achimota boarding but chose Achimota Day technically thinks that he can go and see the head to change it. Yes, sometimes it is possible. Because somebody who also got Achimota boarding might not want to go to school because the parents are taking that child abroad. And so there might be a vacancy for that child. But that is what we work through as human beings. And that is why we put up a resolution center. In 2017, the resolution center was in the ministry. So it prevented us from working for 4 or 5 days. People had besieged the place. In 2017, when free SHS, we had the same crowds. In 2018, that's when we went to National Independence Center. In the first day, there was crowds, but we went through the system. But Bernard, I'll also repeat, look at the frantic nature and the stampeding of the crowd on the Monday. And what had happened on Tuesday. I know of Queen Mother associations that people call them to go and demonstrate. Bernard, It just didn't happen
So
by
you
chance.
feel there was an invisible
They
hand?
came to report, not a visible hand. They came to report to the ministry that they had been called by ABC
to come and do what?
Demonstrate about what is going on in the Independence Avenue.
Independence Square. So I think you need to differentiate what proportion of the people who were there were genuinely frustrated, because we were there and interviewed people who genuinely were frustrated, versus which group of people were there under instructions from somebody.
Those frustrated people that you interviewed, some of them it was on good basis, some of them it wasn't. Why am I saying that? Be in a queue, indicate your problem, and we'll get back to you. We'll take records and get back to you. Why should it lead to a stampede?
Maybe the number of people were more than this.
So what
because the queue was
Tuesday?
so long and the sun was hot and all of that.
What happened on Tuesday?
You need to
what I'm trying to tell you that what happened on Monday was not just people who are coming there with genuine concerns. People still come there with genuine concerns. The place, Independence Square, might be closed today. And if it gets closed, we will still have our call centers to help people through. Even when people go to school, problems do arise that we have to find a way of dealing with the heads of schools and Ghana Education Service. This is the human system. And since you have acknowledged it's the human system, can we ever have a perfect one? We will struggle for perfection and we'll work at it every year. But what I'm saying that if somebody compares this year's placement and the incidents as independent, which happened only one day, and second day, third day, there's peace and calm there. Maybe we are miraculous workers, or better still, some people were interested. Bernard, I also know the text message that was sent to NDC communicators, and I can read it on air, that the placement has been 75% to 80% successful, but we should rather pick on what was happening on the Independence Square. Meanwhile, 15 other regional capitals, Bernard, nothing of that sort that happened. The NDC communicators in the Northern and Volta regions had been told to call into radio stations and blast the Ministry of Education. The NDC college in Ashanti region and Eastern region had been told to call into the station and blast the CSSPS secretariat. In fact, Bernard, if you read the social media pages, you say, Napo's girlfriend at CSSPS mismanaging the system. You have seen it. Meanwhile, the person in charge of CSSPS is Mark Bensa.
So were they trying to cash in on a bad situation,
they were
trying to instigate something that didn't exist? Because
they were trying to exaggerate a problem that truly was there.
Okay. But what about the point you made about the collapses? A lot of people found that very offensive. Because
no, I said that some of them were staged.
And you still stand by that?
I still stand by that. Maybe we shouldn't speak the truth again in this country.
How do you know?
Because I know, I'm a doctor. And I'm telling you, some were genuine because of the stampede. But some were also staged. But, Bernard, you have heard that people died. Who died?
It was rumored, but never reported by any credible media.
But other media sources, whether you call it credible or not.
No media house has reported anybody's death.
I was on Asempa. When somebody called in, Bernard, to say,
nobody will call into this station and say that.
Because you see, what we don't have in this country is delayed broadcast. The person who has called, and before you can even cut the person, has blurted out.
No, but we can ask him to prove. You can't just call and make a claim. In the meantime, it's 11 minutes past the hour of 8. I don't want to spend all the time talking about CSSPS, even though it's a big issue. I'll ask a couple of questions around the school reopening, because there are 2 or 3 issues, and I'll read a few comments for you. Let's talk briefly about universities. 2 weeks ago, it was all the big story. They had reopened. Graphic did a front page story. Not enough spaces for people. Beds being sold and all of that. Things have calmed down a bit. Is it also the same thing that is the storm and then the calm returns? Or were there any interventions you made to bring that issue to...
We don't manage the universities' admissions or residencies. We don't. There are 20 or 10 public universities that individually are managing their whole system. And it happened everywhere. So maybe you can easily say Ministry of Education is crap, Free SHS is crap, Ghana Education Service is crap, because it's the government that you are blaming. What about the 10 public universities? Is the government managing it? No.
So you have nothing to do?
We have nothing to do with university.
So what do you do for them? We give them money. What do you do?
We give them money and that is it.
But don't you determine their school fees? You determine that.
Parliament determines that when they bring their...
Not even you?
Not me.
Wow. But you are the Minister of Education, and we expect...
there are a lot of things that happen in this country that people attribute...
I'm happy you're saying that.
People attribute causality wrongly.
But don't forget that even though you don't directly manage, you have oversight because you are the Minister of Education.
You
have a deputy. You have a deputy in charge of tertiary.
In this country,
yes.
When university teachers, university teachers, university lecturers, university management, even the Vice Chancellor Association of Ghana took a paper, a paid advert, and said government has no business interfering in any university. It's the university councils. You heard it. When the tech brouhaha came, you didn't ask the questions.
No, but
you didn't ask the questions because the laws, that is how it is.
But you still determine policy, even without looking at university laws or anything. My understanding, my uninformed knowledge is a minister is the one who determines the policy that governs the Ministry of Education.
You didn't hear Dr. Rans, for example, blast us that even trying to state that was anathema to my universities.
But are you governing on the basis of what commentators are saying,
to tell you,
or on the basis of what? Because I'm coming. When you are made the Minister of Education, what happens in the tertiary institution is directly your responsibility.
Bernard,
yes.
If you didn't know, Tech should tell you that even when there was riot and there was public problem, there was security problem, the university said by their constitutions, government cannot even act.
But you have a responsibility to we the citizens, not the universities alone. So whatever they say, our children cannot get room.
I'm very, very excited that you are bringing it up. Because some people don't understand that. They don't know that the government pays the ultimate price for these things. But it is not. I'm saying you. Now you are blaming the free CSSPS on government, right? The universities that we don't do to, you are blaming it on government. The universities' admission since time immemorial, their residencies and everything. Even when the Katanga problem was resurfacing, the only thing government could do was to indicate to the University Council that we disagree with their whole conversion policy and that they should reconsider. Because the University Laws Act that we have done doesn't give government the chance to directly...
But don't you have any power to appoint people on the councils? You do. You have reps on the councils.
Once you have appointed, the president appoints only about a third of the members.
So you are not that powerless.
We are very, very powerless. Let me give you an example. There was a university search party for a new vice chancellor in Kumasi Technical University. The search party went and ranked two people, one male, one female. The female topped with 65%. The male was second with 68%. The second person could not even serve the term till he's 60 years. The council said, we have power. We will still give it to the second person. I called the chairman of the council, together with the National Council for Tertiary Education. I said, don't you owe the citizens fairness? That somebody who has ranked, who can serve the full term, with the necessary background for a technical university. You don't even consider why that person should not get it. Rather, you bypass the person and go to the second one and say, what should we do to give the position to the second one?
And what did he say?
So, they even wrote to me, this morning before I came here, I read their letter, that they have noted our concerns, but there's a university council that decides.
But you give them subvention to pay their salaries.
We haven't gotten to the stage that this country, you say, we even give them block grants.
But my main point on this university thing is that citizens' children go to these universities. You are government. We understand that government gives the universities money to pay fees. So even though you don't manage the place operationally, policy-wise and sometimes strategic, it must fit into what you are trying to achieve.
It must fit into the national
So my question is, if you have thousands of students not having access to room, you should be concerned beyond saying it's the university's problem, because ultimately you are the one who's to ensure that whatever happens in the educational institutions in this country aligns with the president's objective.
That's what I'm saying, that you have a law. When you have a law, policy doesn't trump it. When you have a law, policy never trumps laws. You translate policy into laws. But once there is law, do you know that university councils, so a few number of them, have ACDRs on their university councils?
PNDC time.
Yes. And since we haven't changed it, since we haven't changed the
law governing like Legon has...
Legon's law was done recently. Law governing University Cape Coast. Law governing...
Members of the Committee for Defense of Revolution
are still on. Law governing KNUST. law
So
governing.
that's a collective dereliction on all the system.
That's what I'm saying, that I cannot say that policy, I've brought up a policy, those people should go out. If I say I've got a policy, you cannot take people there onto representing ACDR. I have to go to Parliament to change the law, because policy never.
So then what work does your Minister of State in charge of Tertiary do?
Yes, he
gives speeches at programs.
He coordinates, he collaborates, and there's still a lot of work that the universities do through NCTE, which is the bulwark, that is the regulator, through NCTE to either my ministry or to that Ministry of Finance. Because if you are going to do your book and research allowance, it's NCTE that will collate, that will assess, pass it through the Ministry of Education to go there. If it has to do with renegotiation of books and research allowance, it's the ministry that will do that on behalf of government and fair wages and salary structure, the commission. So that is the work we do. But that is the reason why government has come up with a tertiary education policy that seems to streamline governance in the university systems, that we will translate that policy into law, that will make better governance and accountability.
So until we change the law, you
can't
are powerless in helping resolve the accommodation situation.
The universities, see, if you look at the laws, the universities are the ones who, even when they are going to contract a loan, are supposed to do it and come through to the Ministry of Finance. So you have universities with management who are doing very well, like UPSA. You have others that are still waiting for government to come and put up through Get Fund, because Get Fund supports it. But you go to a university, and even those Get Fund projects are not aligned to Get Fund disbursements. So the universities were awarding contracts for projects on the blind side of Get Fund and waiting for Get Fund to bring subventions so that I can use it to pay their projects. But if you have 12 projects on one university campus and you are waiting for Get Fund to bring money, you realize that you never complete the projects. So you have gone around the universities and you have sizable number of so-called Get Fund funded projects that were even blind to the Get Fund. We are now restructuring it and saying that the new public financial management law that was passed in 2016 doesn't allow you to do that. If it's a multi-year contract, you have to go through a process to the Ministry of Finance so that we can do it. So we are evolving in our governance system.
Let's talk about the other last one, the issue of the new curriculum and the lack of textbooks for that curriculum for the primary school. What happened?
Bernard, I wish somebody could tell me in which part of this world, universe, that the new curriculum was launched with the same day with the textbooks. You have to necessarily launch the curriculum for private individuals to use the curriculum to write the textbooks. In this country, we've done it too. In 2012, we launched a new syllabus. There was no textbook.
So are we still using the old syllabus until we get the material, or how is it going to work?
See, teachers don't teach from textbooks. Textbooks don't expire. Today, you can go and read Nelson and Parker on a subject on optics, and I can go and read another physics book on the subject of optics. Does it expire?
So it's an upgrade.
Yes. So, but the teaching methodology and philosophy would have changed. The learning objectives.
But and then new subjects.
There are no new subjects. There are no new subjects. Literacy and numeracy are still literacy and numeracy. Science is still science.
So why don't you just say that
we
will introduce a new curriculum when the books are ready? So we are working with the old.
That's what I'm saying. That it has never. Show me one country, even in America. Show me one country. And I'm saying that what is most necessary that we have never done in this country. Because when school inspectors, Bernard, go to inspect teaching and learning in schools, they don't inspect textbooks. They inspect the teachers' lesson notes. What we have done, and all research shows, and we have implemented it, and the curriculum that has come was not written by Opoku Prempeh. Over 100 leading experts in this country. We can mention names. Director generals, former director generals, professors of education, leadership, those who are far more in education. And Anamwa Mensah can come, just mention Fletcher, Davis, they have all sat through it. I said, this is the standard-based curriculum. Interestingly, when you even hear the brouhaha that came during the training, was it the brouhaha about the content of the training or the brouhaha about food? Just look back. And what I'm trying to say is that for the first time, as the educational aspect in this country, the teachers were also given resource packs that they've never been given before. That includes lesson outlines, scripted lesson plans, work assessment sheets, and even yearly assessment sheets. So that with that, Bernard, you don't need a textbook to be available before you teach. You don't need, a teacher doesn't need a textbook to be available before you teach. In fact, recall yourself, when you were being taught physics, did your teacher open a physics book to teach you physics?
I did add maths, Bostock and Chandler.
I wasn't was your teacher using Bostock and Chandler?
It was a recommended text.
It was a recommended
but that's secondary
text
school.
Everywhere, university.
This question I'm asking is in relation to basic, actually.
Because, yes, I'm telling you, at nowhere in the educational level is a textbook not a reference material.
Fair enough.
So the teachers, when you are writing, when they went to school, when you write your lesson notes, do you know what you do? You put your reference material where you, teacher, you got your sources from, and a reference material where the textbooks the students can buy. Because when we were doing geography, there was no Ghanaian author for geography.
Okay.
They were all abroad. We bought the books, we studied. General Geography Diagram by Bennett. This, the Stone and Cozy. They were all foreign. Yes, I do. And I still have some of those books. And I'm telling you that we
There was an orange one
from
Nigeria.
From Nigeria.
Powerful.
Yes. So when you look at that, the one reading the book from Nigeria and the one reading the book from UK, what was the difference? Different authors. But the subject matter.
It's fair enough to say that agitation was more from the printers, the publishers,
yes,
who were feeling that.
But in 2 years, Bernard, we had told them there was going to be new curriculum. In 2 years.
So they could have prepared.
In 2 years. I don't make business decisions for people.
Okay. We'll read some comments for you. We are talking to Matthew Opoku Prempeh. Okay, lots of questions. Some questions not related to what I've interviewed him. Bernard, good morning. My name is Sena. Please ask the Minister of Education on UEW. Professor Avle has been exonerated by Yoko. What does that mean?
Bernard, let me answer that question. I've always said that it was UEW. That means Vice Chancellors of Ghana write a paid advert that the government has no business in interfering in University Council affairs, and that government's only business is to set up the University Council and let them govern themselves. I've said it, but I don't know why this question is coming, because it doesn't help matters. When Professor Avle was the Vice Chancellor, he had a council. When Professor Afro-Brody came, he had a council, both recognized. It's the council that indicted Avle, not Yoko, not any court. It's the council that set up a disciplinary committee that indicted them. Subsequently, if you remember, Avle has led a team of those who have been his guard to come and petition, because he knows that it's not Yoko matter. And I've referred it to the University Council, legitimately constituted, to have a second look.
Bernard, please ask the Minister to substantiate his claims that NDC members send text messages to their people to converge at the place. Has he been able to get one person who was
So how did I get it? Should I read it?
Yes.
Okay. So
I'll be happy to hear it.
These people, they are
whilst you are reading, let me read some more comments. So I'm just reading a lot. There's a lot of feedback on this. Kobe. I feel like sorry. Alexander Ejakwama, Bernard, good morning. Please ask the Minister what are the plans and measures that have been put in place to avoid similar situations next year, and also plans to absorb these students into tertiary. So that's a legitimate question. So two things. We've seen some of the challenges, and maybe take note of that. You answer it before you go. Plans you put in place to avoid similar situation, and then the other point I think is that there's a lot more students coming through free SHS, and your first batch of free SHS, I call them free SHS babies, are going to go to university next year, if I'm not mistaken. They are in Form 3 right now, right? So your question to you is, how are you going to prepare them? How are you going to make sure there's space for them in the university? Which universities you don't control? So take note of that question.
Haven't you answered it?
No, but you have taken them to school now, and they now all are willing to go to uni. So you can't say that they should terminate after free SHS.
I was wondering, Bernard, which year all A-level students or all university or SSL?
Not all, but once the numbers have gone up, you have to make plans for them. Or you just want them to give them SSS education?
Sometimes it's good in this country that governance is improving. When 4 years became 3 years, we had two batches. We had two batches going to the university. Not a single building was added. And so still till date, we have two streams going to the university.
But the free SHS numbers have shown that we are going to get a lot more.
The free SHS has done some good,
Everybody admits that. In fact,
it's not everybody. People say when they come, they will cancel it.
But you still have to address that point.
You ask the question.
I'm saying,
I'm going to let me read it.
The first batch.
Let me read it.
The NDC thing.
Yes, the NDC. The focus should be on what happened at the Independence Square. Although the placements have been 75% to 80% successful, what took place yesterday who has derailed the gains. And that should be our main point. The blame should be at the doorsteps of the Ministry of Education for failing to supervise the placement process well. 75% successful. We have failed. Western and Northern areas communicators are to hit hard at the Ministry. Greater Accra and Ashanti are to talk about the placement secretariat. Further directives will be issued at the appropriate time. Not every communicator you send this to supports what you are doing. And that's how we got.
Who to who?
I'll mention the names. But if I have this, you should know. It's not all. This is what the person who sent it to me added. Papa, good evening. Hope you are well. This is what the NDC communicators are to do tomorrow. Thanks. He is an NDC communicator.
On what day? So this was the day before.
The day before. This was sent to me on Monday. You see, when I can even read more.
So you are saying this? So it's more than one.
Please. When I was going to go to Asempa, they had had it in their camp, and one of my informants there called me and said, "Send me a text, please. Will you be going to Asempa FM today?" I said yes. Doctor, yesterday some of the people who were at the Independence, he didn't even say squares, Independence Squad, about 60 were passed by the JDM. He said, that is it. The agenda is to use it and see if they can let people forget about the issue that are generated between NDC and Kumasi. That's it. So, what I'm saying, in this country, better you know that even if I go and plot with somebody against you, they will find a way of letting you know where the agenda is. And you have been an investigative journalist for a very long time. And I'm telling you that when you go and plot things with somebody, you are finished. That is all you can do. Ask the person not leaking and betraying. That's why I said somewhere that I can even give them some of the bus numbers. It was only 3 of them that plotted, but we still have it.
Free SHS has led to more people gaining access to education. And people come, in fact, you won an award. The U.S. Embassy gave you an award as the best minister because of that. So we agree that it was a good policy. My question to you is, are you thinking beyond they are getting into secondary school? The appetite for post-secondary education is also going to go high.
Yes.
What plans are you making to ensure that as many of them as possible can continue?
Bernard, the government has taken certain initiatives. When the government authorized get fund securitization of 1.5 billion, the second tranche was to help expand facilities at the universities precisely to accommodate the more numbers. The Vice Chancellor themselves have put together a team and have talked about the numbers more than they can exhibit or they can admit. So the government is working closely with the Vice Chancellors on making sure that some money is available. We even have a utilization plan as soon as the $500 million gets through. We have a utilization plan for that money. So government is putting in place things to also, what we have said is that the university should concentrate on finishing buildings than spreading a lot of structures around without completing them. So if you go to some of the universities, you have maybe 6 or 5 huge structures going on. Let's concentrate and all to have finish one. That will help us better.
Are we on course to end the double track within the period you promised? Because you said it was not temporary. It's not a permanent.
I promised between 3-5 years,
yes.
if you remember, Bernard.
Yeah.
And I'm still sticking that.
You are standing by that.
Once we get our financing going through, we've awarded over 804 projects. Contractors are going through. Once the money is also coming through, we're going to pay them and make sure. Like I said, we don't owe any contractor, whether E Block or Q Block or S Block, or any contractor in secondary school doing a project, whether old or new. We don't owe any.
You've paid everybody.
I have here one E Block in Sehi area that the contractor abandoned the site. I told the contractor, if you don't go and complete this, because you've taken the money. If you don't go and complete, you won't get any contract as far as I exist in the Ministry of Education. It's completed.
It's finished.
It's finished. A lot of contractors are not owed, but they are not going to the site.
They just abandoned projects.
They've just abandoned the project because they all want to come back for variation.
Let me read a few messages. My ward had a better roll score than over 80 students placed in Ibri and Methodist girls to offer general science. She didn't get her first choice, neither her second nor third.
Bernard, let's answer that question. That person should call and give you the index number now in the program.
We'll check for her.
Yes, because you see, you might see somebody doing visual arts in a breed where your ward has got a better score. But maybe you chose to do general science. And in that general science program, your ward probably failed abysmally. Today, a certain lawyer, just this morning, where is the form? Just lawyer, written to us that her child's dream was to go to Wesley Girls. And got some 11111 and couldn't go to Wesley Girls. The child is here. You can read it. The child, when we looked, had a score of 430 something.
He didn't mention the number,
but there were
but you
sheets
checked
attached.
it. Yes.
But nobody in science, general science that the child wants to do, got a lower mark than what the child.
So you sent him that evidence.
Well, that's why he is.
So does that suggest that you need to create another call center type of
we
system?
have a call center system working.
Really?
Yes, we have a call center.
So people can call and they'll
people are calling every day.
I see. Let's read a few more.
We'll give you the number
I think
before
students must be clear in their minds as to what they want to do. You can't say you want to do science in Presec or art in Abone.
How can you do that?
It shouldn't be a matter of the school. It should be a matter of the course. I don't want to debate this, but I do know that people prefer schools before courses. Generally speaking, somebody wants to go to Prempeh and he doesn't get science and he gets arts, he will take the arts like that than go and do a science in a school that he doesn't respect. So that is also there.
But it is true.
It's
But
also
that is why counseling and parental guidance and involvement is important.
Bernard, good morning. Kindly suggest to the minister that going for the school selection by parents or people should be done in triplicate with a copy for each parent to serve as proof of the choice they made during the selection. That copy should be presented at the school of choice as proof of before admission. This will remove the human manipulation. That's a great idea.
That is why we said that if you are coming to a resolution center, bring your placement form.
Good. So to show the evidence.
Yeah, show the evidence.
Please ask him if the placement details can be published online, showing schools, student registration numbers, aggregate grades, and raw scores to show how the people who have been placed all deserve their placement.
We can do that, but Bernard, have you thought about confidentiality?
So if this is what Ghanaians want, that
but it's not about Ghanaians.
No, I'm just saying if going forward they want to do it so that it takes away the view that somebody is manipulating the system.
But still,
then we may change our laws to allow that.
The individual must permit.
Data protection.
Data protection.
Data protection.
It's not about what other people want.
Robert in Danfa, good morning, Bernard. Please tell the minister that we have heard this explanation several times. The challenge is that people are being placed in schools that they did not choose, even though they denied it. But it's the truth. They reduce the pass mark without broader consultation, just to score political points. Which has caused all these problems? This is from Robert.
Robert, let's answer Robert. Which pass mark? There are people who have elected to go to Wesley Girls. Everybody is getting 8-1s. How can I reduce the pass mark? Even if I reduce the pass mark, I get 6 because of competition for places. That's why.
So are they using raw score or the ones?
They use 1-1-1-1, and then they come to raw score. They have to use both because two people have got 8-1s.
They use the raw score to
use
determine.
the raw score.
Okay. Good morning, Ben. This was exactly what the Citi CFS was discussing yesterday. The minister was responsible for the political angle of the CSSPS fiasco. Elias, so he's now said he got messages suggesting that the NDC had an agenda, which he intercepted, which led him to say what he said. I don't know why the NDC hate free SHS. The agenda to sabotage it won't work because it has come to stay from Ochinimba Kwame.
But Bernard, you know the most interesting thing? I can give you a list of those who were sharing drinks there, who has come with placement protocols.
On the side.
I have been prevailed upon not to mention names. But some of them, the Eastern Regional, Opayansa, I can mention all the kids that you see. There is the hypocrisy aspect that I don't want to talk about. There's the hypocrisy aspect that I don't want to talk about.
But have you given them the protocol?
I won't answer that.
Good morning. Please ask the minister what is doing about schools selling text and exercise books at exorbitant prices to parents. Yes. So a lot of private, some people came to me last week and said their kids are in private schools in particular where...
Private schools.
The people who came to me were from private, but this may be public, I don't know. But if the book is even 30 CDs, the school will not tell you what the book is, and then they will say we will supply it to your child, but they will charge 70. And a lot of them are complaining.
If the minister goes to say that a public school will allow that, there's a newspaper, a journalist, hey! You see, there must be a tolerance to some of these nefarious activities. We should grow a level of intolerance to people acting on their own. We should not go and criticize the person who is trying to do right. In 2017, Bernard, in the budget statement of the president, the president outlawed even municipalities, district assemblies from even charging levies in secondaries, in basic schools.
Okay. What's your final message to Ghanaians a lot of noise has happened from last week to today. Today is Thursday, 19th. What's your verdict? Where are we going?
Bernard, I would say that challenges do occur. We knew that there were people, we set up the resolution centers because we genuinely knew that some people will have problems. We set up 60 resolution centers across the country. What happened in Accra, we are very, very sorry for it. We could have done better. Parents that have challenges, we will still have access to our call center, 030-700-7777. We'll work on their behalf to resolve these problems. We hope that as time goes on, the system will get better. But we in Ghana have elected for choice. If we want the situation where everybody living in his or her community should go to a secondary school in his or her community, it will even lead to a dangerous divide in this country that we are not anticipating. If you say everybody should go to a secondary school, then in my community, I don't have a secondary school. What do I do? So we have striven in this country to make sure that we grow up as a cohesive unit. It's only in Ghana that you talk about alma maters being secondary schools. We finished 5 years, 6 years in secondary school without knowing our individual small tribes. It's helped Ghana become an oasis of peace in a sub-region of this quiet. We have to continue that. We have to make room. We have to give opportunity to the poor. We still have to strive that these public schools are institutions where we want all Ghanaians to be educated. And we have to give as a government the leverage to everybody to strive to his or her abilities. Thank you.
Thank you. That was Matthew Opoku Prempeh, Minister for Education.